guys know, of course, you can see the picture up there that I was once drum major of the Pocatello High School marching band. And so I know something about marching bands. And it was my first introduction to the power of synchronized movement, and I've always been fascinated with it and interested in it since then. And because of that interest, the algorithm has narrowed its focus in on me and has been sending me things
You lay down. You
that
speak,
it
lay
thinks
down.
might be of interest to me. This is what marching bands, all the marching bands that I was ever in or knew about were like. You can see as music, it's horrible. It doesn't, you can't march and play in tune at the same time.
Where is this?
And plus, the microphone's picking up the sound will pick it up all distorted anyway. So it's always an embarrassment when a TV crew comes out and records your marching band. Here's what marching bands are like now in Kyoto, Japan.
I suddenly really like marching bands.
Yeah. Now listen to them play. Sounds pretty good. Mostly in tune, and as the microphone goes by, you can pick up every instrument. They're all playing. How do they do that? I don't understand how you dance around and play an instrument. It's at all even listenable.
It's easy to see how they almost took over the world.
They have to remember all those routines at the same time that they remember the music.
It's gotta kill your back. Look at that xylophone.
She hits every note, jumping up and down.
And smiling.
I have no explanation for how they can do that. To me, that's miraculous. This is traditional village dance. Can you imagine holding your arms up for hours doing this thing? And they're in shoes that put them up on their tiptoes. And then you get the Yang dance where they're all sunk. You know, they're all in a deep stance that you really have to be strong to stay in that stance and do all those steps. And they say in sync, and it's and they also got women in the Yang dancers. It's one, but they speed up and they slow down.
That guy's getting into it.
Yeah, there's
a
some
little
room for
extra.
improvisation
Yeah.
and being yourself. And this has got to be something that just the men in the village get together and practice in the evenings, probably for months, just as a social. Okay, then you got the Slavic dancers. And this also must be something that young people do socially, like they do square dancing here or something in the evening.
It's kind of like river dance.
That's pretty damn complicated step. Well, you see why I wanted to start on time, because last degree of cancer rising, we gotta hit where Venus and Pluto
North
in the
Node.
seventh. The sun is bona fide by Jupiter, as well as being square Neptune. It's the Pluto right on the descendant that I think is probably the most interesting and the most dangerous, and we won't know what happens for years probably.
Pluto on the descendant specifically for Qigong Club?
Yeah, for yeah, Chiron is with the Midheaven, and exactly bona fide by Venus, so it's got to be a good
So
thing.
does it pertain to the topic or the just lecture in general, or?
The event itself, as though it were a being, or something.
Now, Mars is not too happy in Gemini, is that right?
Well, Mars is undergoing a very traumatic experience. Well, it's been retrograde in Gemini, which is not that great of a place for it anyway. Maybe it's just me, since I have Mars Uranus in Gemini, and it's never been comfortable. But they say this retrograde, it hit 22 and then where it's exactly square Neptune, and now it's coming all the way back to 8, and then it's going to go all the way. So it's going to be in one sign for 18 months. Which is, and it's going to trigger anything that anybody has in common sign. In this chart in the 12th, sextile Chiron in the midheaven, so, and it's a night chart, so it's of the sect. So even though it might involve conflict and be, secret enemies may be involved.
There's always secret enemies involved. Just lurking.
In your life, for sure.
I know.
And you're facing south, like when you're by yourself in Qigong, you're facing south, so the sun's rising in the east, and that's the ascendant.
Okay.
And then
That makes sense.
up is the midheaven, and in the west is the
Oh.
descendant.
Okay, that helps actually.
Yeah. And it lays out this grid of 12 different places, and then the signs are overlaid that, and the planets and the signs.
Okay, I've got a stupid question.
Good.
What determines if something is bona fide?
Whether it is sextile or trine, Venus or Jupiter.
Oh, so those two planets specifically.
Those two planets specifically can do bonification, while as Mars and Saturn do maltreatment.
Okay. Interesting.
If you're born in the daytime, then Jupiter does good things that benefit you. And Venus may do good things, but they don't benefit you because it's of the night sect. And likewise, if you're born at night, Jupiter may do good things, but they may not benefit you likewise. So it's like, and it's the same with Mars and Saturn. And there are also rules about it involving whether one's on the right-hand side or the left-hand side from the center. And it's squares and oppositions that do maltreatment, and it's sextiles and trines that do bonification.
Okay.
And conjunctions.
I think I got most of that.
Yeah. There's a famous list, it's called the Antiochus Summary, which is a list of the rules involving maltreatment. It's like just 12 rules. It was the major way they did that whole bonification maltreatment thing, because it gave all the bad stuff, it gave all the conditions for maltreatment, and you just do the opposite with the benefics for bonification.
Like, how is Mars treated in Cancer?
That's the worst possible place for it, because it's opposite Capricorn. Capricorn is the absolute best place for it, and Cancer is the absolute worst place for it.
So-
There used to be someone who came to Qigong Club that liked to argue about it.
I think I heard the analogy before that, like, Mars is the soldier returned from war at home
Yeah.
and totally out of.
Yeah, he's got PTSD
Yeah,
or
PTSD,
whatever,
it's like-
and he's a problem.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then Cancer is like the home.
Yeah. And of course, it depends a lot about the relationship with the moon. You know the story of the weaving girl and the herding boy? One of the goddesses of heaven, one of the Jade Emperor's daughters, got bored with weaving clouds in the sky to make it rain. That was her job. She got bored with it and was curious about what life on Earth was like. So she comes down to Earth and she meets this guy herding cows and falls in love and decides she'd like to stay here. And so she sets up shop with him weaving cloth, because that's what she does, and brought silk and silk weaving into the world. And they have 2 kids. But in the meantime, there aren't any clouds in the sky, and the earth starts dying, and there's a real problem. So the Jade Emperor sends his minions down and grabs her and pulls her back up into heaven to do her job. And the cow herd chases after her with the 2 children in a little basket on his shoulders, and he chases after her, but he runs into this problem, this big glom of stars in the middle of everything, the Milky Way, which he can't get across. But once a year, and it's sometime in springtime, magpies, and see, his star is Altar and hers is Vega,
So cool.
on either side of the Milky Way. Once a year, magpies fly over and make a bridge so they can come together.
That's so romantic.
How romantic, and it is, that day is like the Asian Valentine's Day, and they do all kinds of stuff to wish, them a good day,
Aw.
and maybe enjoy a little bit of the vibration themselves. But it is something about the basic internal separation we have between the feminine goddess and the practical herder that is very, very difficult to bring together internally. The Neijing too, that picture, in one place they have the herder boy and star, and then down below they have the weaving girl. So they're picturing it in that. But interestingly enough, the weaving girl is down in the solar plexus area, and the herding boy is up by the Big Dipper. And why do they do that? I'm not sure what that's about, but that's one of the features of that diagram. And I always kind of wanted to be sure in my head, where Altar and Vega were relative to because it's kind of cool, part of Chinese astronomy.
It's the 7th day of the 7th lunar month.
Oh, okay.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay, I think I'm done. It's 8 o'clock,
thanks,
unless
Bill.
there are other exciting questions.
If you're from Vega, does that make you a vegan?
Good night.
The original vegans.
Ah. So with the 2 character,
You're welcome. I'll see you Tuesday. Okay.
the 2 character combination you're talking about, it sounds
Yin yang.
like there's like a spectrum almost? Or no?
A spectrum in terms of one's presence and intention.
In how it's translated maybe? Like, didn't you say that somebody translated as obsession and then,
Well, how that one character
Need to go potty,
is
buddy.
used.
oh,
I think he's right that as a 2-character combination, it's used a lot like we use intention in terms of Qigong.
yeah,
But that character Yin by itself or in combination with other characters has a much wider range of meaning. And oftentimes, particularly by itself, it's its context is more like a yearning, a wish for something, a wanting of something.
So like in classical Chinese, it might be more of like a yearning or wanting, but in modern Chinese, where it might have like a modifying character with it, it could have a bigger range of meaning based on what its modifier is.
I'm not sure about the modern ancient, which way it goes that way.
Okay.
Because the actual meaning of the pieces of the character, one is now, you know, the top of it is the word for now, and the bottom is the word for heart. So it makes sense that the original meaning had something more to do with presence than with yearning. But of course, if in the present one is yearning for something, which most of us are, that may be how the drift happened. If it's going, you know, which way it's going, modern to ancient.
So it's addressing the idea of yearning in terms of like it pulls you out of the now, or does yearning bring you into the now? Because I think that yearning would be.
Yeah, it seemed like to me the context that I read it in terms of the different emotions, that it takes you out of the now.
Yeah.
And words are like that, you know, they oftentimes take their opposite meaning.
So how do you stay in the now?
An act of will, I think. And for varying periods, you know, just as long as you can. Bringing your attention back to the now. I think it's a lifelong practice. But the essential technique of internal work, internal alchemy. Did you leave me some soup?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
There's also